Welcome to our channel Bharat Kranti. Here we are doing daily newspaper analysis. Today we are analyzing the Hindu newspaper dated 17th January 2026 Delhi edition. So let us begin with the first important article related to National Startup Day 2026, recently commemorated to mark 10 years of the Startup India initiative. So this is how we are going to review all the articles. We are going to see the brief summary of every news article. Then we are going to see the article from prelims perspective, which aspects of the particular news article is relevant for prelims and which aspects of the particular news article is relevant for mains. That is how we are going to do it. If possible, we will also see how questions can be framed from this particular section. For most important news article, we will also see how UPSC usually frames the questions from different dimensions, etc. Okay, so this is an article on Startup India initiative. See, usually news comes in the newspaper. For almost 90 to 95% of news articles, that particular news is not relevant. The issue behind the news is relevant unless it is a significant event in the history of India or history of the world. We don't have to focus on the news, that specific news, but our interest should be in the issue hiding behind the news, the theme behind the news. Okay, so here the news is government celebrating the 10th anniversary of Startup India scheme. Okay, but the main issue behind here is Startup India initiative. So when government started some initiative, there must be some objectives. There must be some problems in the economy or the country. So that is why, to address these problems or to promote some specific things, government is coming up with this scheme called Startup Initiative Scheme, Startup India scheme. Okay, so government has introduced this scheme to address regulatory complexity. Any companies who wants to start in India, they have to go through a very huge hurdle. Now government is trying to simplify them. Okay, and another important thing is that I am not explaining the article in detail. Okay, I am just giving you overview of the article. I am just telling you how to read. Okay, here we are discussing how to read article, because if we discuss every article in detail and the prelims perspective and mains perspective, it will take like at least 3 hours long minimum it would take 3 to 4 hours. So that much of video is not possible and not practically feasible, and it will not also help you. Okay, I don't like spoon feeding. So what I'm giving you here, I am giving you the overview. Okay, what should be your mentality, your mindset while reading the newspaper article. Okay, this we will see for every relevant article from the newspaper to UPSC syllabus. Okay, any state PSC aspirants, please do the same to their state PSC syllabus. Now, this video is absolutely useful for both UPSC and any state PSC aspirant. Anyone who is relying on current affairs, anyone who has to read newspaper, this video is definitely helpful. Okay, so coming back to the news. So we are celebrating 10 years anniversary of Startup India initiative. So this initiative has resulted in some success, like there are 2 lakh recognized startups, and India has emerged as the third largest startup ecosystem globally. Okay, and this is contributing to government vision. So many objectives like employment generation, okay, IPO activity, okay, digital economy boost, etc. we are achieving them. Okay, and this is also aligning with our developed India initiative or Viksit Bharat by 2047. Okay, this is our vision, and this scheme is helping us in achieving that vision. Okay, so this is the brief summary discussed in the news article. Coming to the prelims perspective, so what you should read for prelims, you should know what is Startup India. Okay, you should know the basic features and basic factual details about this scheme, and when is National Startup Day celebrated and why. Okay, key trends in entrepreneurship and government schemes, etc., key data, etc. Okay, like this data I'm saying here, we have 2 lakh recognized startups, and India has become the third largest country with the startups, and many related schemes government has introduced to make this scheme successful. You should know those related schemes also. You should understand all the important terms discussed in this article, like unicorns, IPOs, deep tech, AI, climate tech, etc. So after watching this video, now come back and whatever you don't know, whatever still pending to read, you please read. Okay, this we are just starting. We will going to do this every day. Okay, for various newspapers. Starting with the Hindu, we will expand. Okay, so our videos will be definitely helpful to you, and we will cover all the dimensions. All you have to do is to do your personal work, reading, covering all those dimensions. Okay, so let us see from mains perspective how to link this topic, particular news, to the syllabus. So in GS paper 2, there is a syllabus line called government policies and interventions for development in various sectors. Here the sector is employment. Okay, so to generate employment, government has came up with some scheme. We should also read any issues arising out of their design and implementation. Okay, so we should know the basic objectives of this scheme, and we should do the critical analysis. How effective is this Startup India initiative? So government introduced this scheme with some objectives. How effectively are they being met? Okay. Now GS paper 3, we can also link this to GS paper 3. Of course, it is directly linked to employment, okay, economic development. Okay, indirectly this topic can also be linked to Indian society in GS paper 1, because 48% startups have at least one woman director. So government using this scheme to promote women empowerment also. So you can use this as a part of social empowerment also. Speaking largely, this is also related to social empowerment. Okay, not just women, any vulnerable section government is trying to empower using this scheme. Okay, and also GS3 inclusive growth. Okay, in addition to the employment, in GS3, you can also link this to inclusive growth. Of course, we are promoting social empowerment. We are doing social justice. Okay, so in GS paper 2 also, this is related to governance and social justice. Okay, so inclusive growth and issues arising from it. There is a syllabus line in the GS3 paper. You should link this news article to this. So I am here linking to main syllabus. What is the purpose of it? Okay, so no exam can be cleared without making notes. So I am helping you how to make notes using newspaper. So while reading newspaper, now we are discussing how it can be linked to mains. So you must add this particular data or particular summary or this brief of this news to your notes. Okay, at these sections, GS1, GS2, GS3, wherever we are discussing, wherever it is relevant, question can be asked from that particular areas. So you should be ready with your model notes. Okay. So how questions can be framed, I have given for sample only. This cannot be done for every question because of time limitation. Okay, just to pause and read how questions can be asked from this section. Okay, this I have just given sample to broaden your mind. So moving on to our next article. Okay, here we are seeing Supreme Court rejecting Justice Verma's challenge to formation of House Inquiry Committee. So recently, some months back, there was a Delhi High Court judge, and suspiciously some cash was found at his home. Okay, so inquiry was conducted. Now, as per constitution, it has to be deliberated in the parliament, and whether he should be remaining in the office or he should be removed has to be taken up by parliament. Okay, so this is an issue discussing that. Okay, so now there is a act called Judges Inquiry Act. Under that act, there will be a judges commission who has conducted an inquiry and submitted the report to the parliament. Okay, and now they are discussing it. Okay, so this is the summary. You can see whatever happened till now. So how this particular news article can be linked to prelims, you should know what is this Judges Inquiry Act 1968, what is its purpose and the procedure, etc., because this was recently implemented in this case. Okay, and we should know the basic constitutional articles like Article 124 and 217, which talks about all aspects of Supreme Court and High Court judges like appointment and removal, etc. And we should know the role of Lok Sabha Speaker and Rajya Sabha Chairman in admitting such removal motions of judges, because in this particular case, Rajya Sabha Chairman has rejected the notice to remove him, but Lok Sabha Speaker has accepted. Okay. So this is how we are going to link this to the prelims. So when it comes to mains, this is directly linked to GS paper 2. Okay, structure and organization and functioning of the executive and judiciary. This is directly given in the syllabus. Okay, and in GS2 there is another syllabus line called separation of powers. What are the separations of powers of judiciary? What are the powers of parliament? Okay, legislature, etc. So this issue is touching between parliamentary autonomy and judicial independence, because now this Justice Yashwant Verma, he went to court, Supreme Court, and he said the inquiry conducted against me and now it is being discussed in the Lok Sabha. It is violating judicial independence. Now Supreme Court has rejected, as you can see in the article, Supreme Court has rejected his challenge. Okay, so this is an issue touching on judicial independence. Okay, to what extent judicial independence shall be maintained, to what extent we should not allow parliament or executives interference into judiciary. Okay, to what extent they can discuss judicial behavior. Okay, because in this case, if cash is found to be belonging to him, it is seen as a misconduct. That means he is earning money through corruption. But if cash does not belong to him, we do not know what has this inquiry committee has given in its report. There was an inquiry committee. It has done its inquiry and submitted the report. So based on that details in the report, now these member of parliaments will take a decision in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. So as per, there is a procedure given in the 217 in the Constitution. So as per the Constitution, if motions are passed, then he will be removed as a Supreme Court judge. Okay, sorry, High Court judge. Okay, this is also touching on transparency and accountability. Okay, judicial accountability. So judges are like, we are seeing judges above all. They answer to no one. So, but what happens when a person answers to no one and is corrupt? So this is a question of judicial accountability also. Okay, not only GS paper 2, transparency and accountability. So similar keywords are also already given in GS paper 4 also, ethics paper. So you should link to multiple mains GS papers. So please add these topics, examples, data in your notes at these places. Okay, so pause the video and see how questions can be framed in this. So moving on. So I am glancing through the paper one by one. Okay, top and bottom, all the papers from start to end. I am moving through and demonstrating live. Okay. So Telangana speaker here. We are seeing this. There is an article on the left dismissing pleas of BRS seeking disqualification of 2 MLAs. So there are 2 MLAs of opposition party who has changed sides to the party in the ruling. So this happens all the time. This particular news is completely irrelevant. You don't even have to read it. But if you don't know what is 10th schedule of the Constitution, if you don't know what is the role of the speaker in disqualification under anti-defection law or 10th schedule, or if you are not well versed with this area, parliament and state legislatures functioning, etc., in GS paper 2, given in the GS paper 2, you should read it. Okay, so this is how you should read it. Okay, so those people who are not confident in these areas, they should read it now. Okay, it should not be left till last moment of prelims and mains. When something comes in newspaper, we should immediately revise the static portion of it, because next time when it comes, you are already well versed with it. Next time the same issue, similar issue comes in the news, now you are ready with it. Okay, because some issues are going on in news, questions will be reflected in prelims and mains. In similar way, there is an article on the bottom. ED registers case against Al Falah Group Chief. Okay, so here we are talking about Enforcement Directorate, and they have registered a case against a college, okay, a university in Kashmir, and their allegations are that it is some money laundering is involved in this. Okay. So, because ED is mentioned in news, you should know what is ED and what are its basic powers and etc. And the acts on from which it is deriving its power. Okay, ED is deriving its powers from 3 acts, and PMLA, Prevention of Money Laundering Act, is one of it. So this particular news, you don't have to read it completely. You can completely ignore it. But the themes behind the news is important. Again, in GS3, internal security, we have money laundering and its prevention. And let me tell you, there is no such thing called syllabus for prelims. Okay, so whatever syllabus for prelims is given, it is only for static. You should read all the basic geography, basic polity, basic economy, basic environment, basic science, etc. Okay, for prelims perspective, all the static portion. But anything that is coming in newspaper can be asked in prelims, because in prelims syllabus itself, current events of national and international importance is given. So anything that is in newspaper can be asked in prelims. We are only seeing how to read these news articles in prelims. Okay, I don't tell any article which is separately relevant to prelims or not. Every news article we will discuss is relevant to prelims. It is up to the intellect of the paper sector how to frame the question. Anything, whether it is a purely static one, without any data, without a figure, purely yes or no statement also can be asked in prelims. There is a misconception that only data and numbers or facts can be asked in prelims. No, there is no such thing like that. Anything that can be asked in mains can be asked in prelims. Anything that can be asked in prelims can be asked in mains. Okay. The only limit is the intellect of the paper setter. Okay. So money laundering at its prevention is directly mentioned in GS paper 3 internal security, but because it is in news, it can be also asked in prelims. And in GS paper 3 internal security, we will also read about terrorism as an internal security challenge. And here the link between terrorism and money laundering is discussed in this article. So this Al Falah University is accused of promoting money laundering to facilitate terrorism. Okay, so if the accusation is true, they are doing money laundering to facilitate terrorism. So moving on to the next important article. So this is the second city page. I am not seeing any relevant article. So wherever I am not seeing any relevant article, I am just moving. Okay. So here at the bottom, I am seeing one relevant article. Data submitted to Rajasthan High Court show no trans person with OBC quota government job in 2 years. So again, this particular news you can ignore. That particular incident, or you can just write as an example. But you have to understand this issue is related to transgender rights. Okay, transgender rights. So in India, there is no separate reservation mandated as per constitution provisions for transgender person. There are constitutional provisions mandating reservations for SC, ST and women, etc. at various places. Okay, so government also came up with OBC reservation. So there are reservations for many sections, but not a separate reservation for transgenders. So there is a judgment in 2014 called Nalsa judgment given by Supreme Court. In this judgment, Supreme Court has said transgender persons are like backward section, they should be given reservation. Supreme Court did not give any strict guidelines. It given an opinion that they are like backward section, they are eligible for reservations. So this particular statement, they are like backward sections, is interpreted in multiple ways. So some states are giving separate OBC reservation for them. So OBC means those people who are OBC, they will get some category under OBC. So SC, any transgender from SC category, they cannot get this reservation under OBC. They have to get a normal reservation under SC or ST. So this kept on happening, and some other people are interpreting OBC because transgenders, there is no such thing like there cannot be a transgender person from a general category. So a transgender person who belongs to a general category can also face discrimination. So there should be something called horizontal reservation. The previous type of reservation which we are discussing, like OBC, SC, ST, women, etc. This is vertical reservation. All the jobs, number of jobs or seats in an education institution is divided vertically. So within every section, if you divide it further, it is called horizontal reservation. So there is a debate that within every section under OBC, under SC, under ST, or even for general category transgender people, there should be some horizontal reservation. So in India, there is a debate around horizontal or vertical reservation for this transgender people, and it is going on from so long, since it is 2014, and it is not yet settled till now. So some states are going for vertical reservation, some states are going for horizontal reservation, and this Rajasthan has implemented this vertical reservation. It formed a separate category under OBC reservation for this transgender people. So this happened 2 years back, but in these next 2 years, nothing happened. No one was recruited. That is the news article summary. Now you can read the headline. Okay, data submitted to Rajasthan High Court show no trans person within OBC quota got government job in 2 years. So this vertical reservation, whatever they are implementing, it is not being successful. It is not useful to these transgender people. That's what the data is showing. So you can use this example in that way. Okay, so where exactly it fits in the main syllabus? So GS paper 2, government policies and interventions for development. Okay, and there you can also say welfare schemes for vulnerable section. Okay. So here the vulnerable section is this transgender community. So whatever I have given, you can just read those aspects for both prelims and mains. This particular news you can ignore or just add as an example. Okay, and it can also be linked to social empowerment in GS paper 1, because social empowerment means empowerment of all the backward sections. Whoever is vulnerable, you should empower them and make them equal with all the developed sections. That is the concept of social empowerment in GS paper 1. So this topic also linked to GS paper 1. Okay. Moving on. So here I am seeing one article which is repeatedly coming into news something called Special Intensive Revision of Election Commission. So you can just read here, it is in news for so many months now. Okay, every day almost we are seeing some article. So for those people who have not read this, please read what is Election Commission of India, what is Special Intensive Revision. Okay, it is directly linked to Salient Features of Representation of People Act given in the GS paper 2. Okay, so this can be read from both prelims and mains perspective. You can just read it. Moving on, we have reached the editorial page. So on the first editorial on the left side, we can see it is a small editorial, not very relevant one, but it is discussing some important aspects. This particular one mostly relevant to mains. There is no much prelims concepts here. So everyone knows that right now in the world many events or significant developments are happening. So there is a US President Donald Trump. So he has recently given sanction for a military operation in Venezuela. They have kidnapped Venezuela president. Then Donald Trump wants Greenland. So he is angry with everyone who is saying no, you cannot take Greenland. Donald Trump just want to occupy Greenland, and whoever is saying that is unfair. You have to take people's opinion into consideration. You cannot violate Venezuela's sovereignty. You cannot violate Greenland's sovereignty. Whoever is talking like that, Trump is getting angry. And Trump also a few months back, in fact 3 years back, US told India, please stop buying oil from Venezuela or we will punish you. So India stopped buying oil from Venezuela. Then again few months back, US told us, please stop buying oil from Russia, otherwise we will punish you. So we stopped buying oil from Russia. Okay, now Trump is doing whatever he wants in Venezuela. Trump is doing whatever he wants in Greenland. Now there are some protests happening in Iran. We will see in the next article. So there are some protests happening in Iran because of various mostly economic reasons. So this Iran government is severely stopping the protests. Okay, it is curbing all human rights to stop those protests, to stop preventing the country to going into instability. Donald Trump is saying you are violating human rights. So Iran, if you take harsher punishment on protesters inside your country, we will intervene from external. We are another country will come militarily into your country and will take over of your country like they have done in Venezuela. So now he wants to do something as per his wishes in Iran also. So now India will also will be in catch-22 situation. Like India does not know what to do, because then they will say you stop all these operations from Iran. And we have also had some very interest like something called Chabahar port in Iran. So it is very important for India, this Chabahar port. Now we have taken a special exemption from US regarding this, because US has already imposed sanctions on Iran also. Anyone who is doing business with Iran, US is punishing them also. Okay, so we have opted 1 or 2 special exemptions. We have also reduced our business buying oil etc. from Iran. Actually, it is one of the reason Iran is facing severe crisis, severe economic crisis right now. So this article says US is trying to do whatever it wants because it has the power. It is the most powerful country on earth. It is just doing whatever it wants, and it is expecting all the countries like India to just comply with its instructions. And this article is saying India cannot just do that, because all of these things happening, India is not saying anything against USA. So President of Venezuela was kidnapped, India did not say anything. Trump is threatening Iran, India is not saying anything. Trump wants Greenland, India is not saying anything. So this article is saying it is not a good thing, because India loses its credibility. India wants to be a superpower. A superpower needs to be courageous and speak the truth. When Trump is violating international laws, India should object to it, because it may benefit us in the short term by avoiding the punishment of USA. But in the long term, India is not seen as reliable. India is not seen as courageous. Okay, so to behave like a leader, we should take strong stance. So that is the summary of this article. So in this article, there is a mention of BRICS and BRICS Press grouping. You can see that. And as I told you, Chabahar port. Okay, and sanctions imposed by USA. You can see what is unilateral sanctions, what is secondary sanctions, etc. So whatever US is imposing on Iran is primary sanctions, and whatever US is imposing on India for doing business with Iran, it is secondary sanctions. Okay, so how you can link this to main syllabus? So India and its neighborhood relations, particularly coming to what is happening in Iran, etc. It is related to our neighborhood also. And effect of policies and politics of developed and developing countries on India's interests. These I am taking directly from the syllabus. Okay, so effect of policies and politics of developed and developing countries, like policies and politics of USA right now is severely impacting India. We cannot buy oil from Venezuela, we cannot buy oil from Russia, we cannot buy oil from Iran, even though they can give us at a very low price. We are forced to buy oil at higher prices from other countries like Saudi Arabia, UAE, etc. Okay, or Iraq. And GS paper 3, Indian economy, of course it is impacting our economy because now we are paying more for the oil. Okay, now our import cost will be higher. And GS paper 4, ethical issues and international relations, whether whatever Trump is doing are right or not, whether whatever India is doing it is right or not. So questions can come like that. So moving on, I am not seeing any further relevant articles here. There is an article, there is an opinion on upcoming budget 26-27. So in the next 2 weeks we will see the budget document, official budget document. So there is a comment on it. So it is too soon actually. Here is an author expressing her views on what government should do with the upcoming budget. Okay, it is too soon. We will discuss when budget comes, and based on what the actual budget is, then we can do the critical analysis. Before coming budget, we cannot do critical analysis. Now there is another article on an elephant which is troubling the people and the officials in this Jharkhand. Now there is an elephant going on rampage, killing people. Now officials are having hard time catching it. So this is an example of human-animal conflict. Okay. So what you can see is, because elephant is mentioned here, just from an environment GS3 perspective for prelims, you can see what is Asian elephant, what is its IUCN status, etc. Those people who don't know it. So if you don't know something, whenever you see something in newspaper, take that as an opportunity and just learn it. Okay, 2 minutes, hardly 2 minutes. Just go to Wikipedia of Asian elephant, read and come back. Okay, elephant corridors. What are the important elephant corridors in India? What is Project Elephant, etc. Because these are the things discussed in this article. Generally, there is an act called Wildlife Protection Act. Now, under this act, this is not just for elephant. We will use this article, this act, for protection of all the species. Like there is Project Tiger, etc. So we are protecting all the wildlife under this act. So you can just read a broad reading of this act if you don't know. If you don't know what is Wildlife Protection Act, you can just take a moment, just have a brief overview of this act. Okay. If you want to use this as an example, this particular news is not very relevant for mains. Okay, not for even prelims. The themes behind this, like what is Asian elephant, what is Project Elephant, okay, Wildlife Protection Act, can be asked in prelims. If you want to use this as an example, it is relevant to conservation and degradation in GS3 environment. Okay, this is a typical example of human-wildlife conflict. Why is human-wildlife conflict happening? What is the solution, etc. You can see. Okay, moving on. Till I'm seeing something that is worth discussing, I'm moving on. Okay, so here there is an article on this 12th page. Expert panel sets norms for religious sites in sanctuaries. So this is an article, particular article, again it's not very relevant. This is an article discussing religious sites inside sanctuaries. So what happened? A few months back, there is a religious trust inside a wildlife sanctuary. So I told you this Wildlife Protection Act protects wildlife. So under this Wildlife Protection Act, we announce wildlife sanctuaries, national parks, etc. to protect those species and the wildlife, etc. And we maintain very high conservation standards inside these sanctuaries. But recently, some people claimed that their religious site existing inside the sanctuary, they want to develop it. And actually, Gujarat government has initially given the permission. But it faced some criticism that once you start giving that like that, giving permission for development of religious sites inside sanctuary, now it sets a bad precedent. It happens everywhere, because almost in all sanctuaries there will be religious places across the world. So one thing that started in Gujarat, now it will spread to every state, and you cannot uphold the rights of some particular state, some particular people in some states, and deny the rights of other people in other states. So it sets a dangerous precedent. So now Ministry of Environment at the Union government got alerted. So they have conducted some study and they have came up with the norms. Now you see they have come up with some set of guidelines how these religious sites can be recognized if it is inside a sanctuary. Okay. So expert panel sets norms for religious sites in sanctuary. So this particular news you can just give or at least one reading. So I am telling you what are important things to read. There is a Balaram Ambaji Wildlife Sanctuary discussed here. It is in Gujarat. Okay, for a prelims perspective, you should know this. So this article discusses about the common themes among three important acts. Forest Conservation Act, which gives the definition of forest, etc. So which is a forest and which is not, comes here. Forest Rights Act. So what are the rights of the people living inside the forest? So there are many communities living inside the forest even before the Britishers, before making our constitution. So what are the rights of these people whose life depends on this forest? Okay. Then there is wildlife protection, of course I told you. So this is a particular theme of religious rights versus everyone has the right to their own faith, own religion. It is a fundamental right. So right to worship, a fundamental right, versus our responsibility towards environment. We have to maintain our environment also. Okay, so this is a GS3 topic, conservation and degradation. It is a conflict between religious practice and environment conservation. We need to balance both. So moving on. So here I am seeing something called Seeds Bill. So government is going to introduce Seeds Bill in the Parliament. So this discussion has been going on for past few months. So what is the Seed Bill? Seed Bill is a draft bill government is going to introduce for regulation of quality of seeds, market of seeds, etc. Okay, and protection of farmer rights, etc. So this is a topic related to agriculture, as you can see. So you can read the summary. So what is the focus of the prelims? You should know the basic objectives and provisions of this draft Seed Bill 2025, which is proposed by government. Okay, and how you can link this to the mains. So this is a government intervention in the agriculture sector, in the seed sector. So this is directly touching GS paper 2, government policies and interventions. Okay, and also GS paper 3, of course agriculture is in GS paper 3. So in agriculture it is a issue of food security. Okay, seed is directly touching the food security. See, it is a matter of interpretation. UPSC, if you don't see direct syllabus topic in GS3, do not think UPSC cannot ask it. If something can be interpreted under some syllabus, it will be asked. Okay, so this single question can be asked in GS paper 2 or GS paper 3. Any question which is relevant to any GS paper can be asked. So we have seen some articles related to GS 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, so it can come in any GS paper. So when you make a comprehensive notes, so regardless of the paper UPSC asks, you should be able to answer it. Okay. So moving on. Now significant article in the economy page. Coming to the world page. So here there is an article at the left top side on Greenland. Trump threatens tariffs on nations that don't back plan on Greenland. So as I told you, Trump wants Greenland. So what is this Greenland? So there is a island. It is the world's largest island adjacent to Canada. So the Greenland, whenever there is a country in news, we should first see its geography. So for prelims perspective, its basic geography becomes important. What are the main features of it? Okay, you should go to Wikipedia and read 2 or 3 lines about it. And what are its neighboring countries? What are the important seas, etc. surrounding this particular country, etc. we should see. So we should know the basic details, what is Greenland, etc. And it is having a very strategic Arctic location here. Okay. So there are some important military bases in US. So there is already a US military base in Greenland, but still Trump wants total island for his own reasons. Okay. So from mains perspective, you can see why Trump wants it. What is the significance, strategic significance of this Greenland? Okay. So there is something called Arctic Council. You should know about it. Okay. And you should know India's interest in this Arctic region. And something called rare earth minerals, because Greenland and even Venezuela, as a matter of fact, is having rich rare earth minerals. That is why Trump has attacked Venezuela. Trump wants a favorable person in Venezuela, and also Trump wants control of Greenland. Okay, and US is violating this international law principle, sovereignty and territorial integrity like anything. Same with Venezuela and Greenland, etc. So these are violations of international principles. That is what the previous editorial we have discussed are saying. Trump is violating international principles, agreed international principles, but we are not saying anything. Okay. So again, GS paper 2. So policies and politics of developed countries affecting India's interest. US is doing some politics, geopolitics, and it is affecting India's interest. Okay. Bilateral, regional and global groupings affecting India's interest. Here like Arctic Council, etc. Okay, this is how you will link it. Now the next article related to the syllabus, like Iran, what is happening in Iran. I just told you, this is also discussed in this article, and Trump is also trying to use this instability inside the Iran. So many protests are happening in Iran. You can see this second article. So Riyadh means Saudi Arabia. So even countries which are enemies of Iran, Saudi Arabia, UAE, etc., they are also asking US to not conduct a strike in Iran. They are requesting US to not intervene in Iran, because if US gets intervened in Iran, it will push the region into so much instability, infighting. So there will be different groups fighting for power. The whole region will go into chaos, and there will be a lot of migration, immigration, illegal immigration into neighboring countries. US will not face any wrath, but these countries, UAE, Saudi Arabia, will face the wrath. Then comes the domination of Israel. Israel is trying to dominate this region already. So Iran is possibly the only power as of now fully countering Israel. So these countries, even though they are now trying to make good relations with Israel, they are assuming if Iran completely falls, collapses, there is no one to stop Israel in this region. Okay, so to counter Israel, they also need Iran to some extent. So that is why they are asking Donald Trump to not conduct any strikes in Iran. Okay, so what is happening in Iran? If you see, there are many protests happening from the last month, December 2025, and mostly because of economic reasons. Inflation is rising, food prices is rising, their currency is collapsing. Okay, so this is one of the largest threats this Iran government has faced in many years. And as you know, Trump has given threats: if Iran is restricting human rights, then America will intervene. So how you should read this from the perspective of prelims? As I told you, any country which is in news, you should know the basic geography of it. Okay, important features, surrounding seas and countries, etc. Okay, you should know the basic polity of Iran. It is a theocracy. Okay, you should know the basic religious composition, how it is a Shia dominated country. Okay, and you should know the basic currency of Iran. Why I am telling you all these aspects, these are in news. Whatever is being discussed in news, you should know it. And how you can link this to news. So we are discussing, you should know the basic history of Iran, not like ancient times, just after World War or even 1979 there is a revolution. After World War II, you can just see what was the history of Iran very briefly, because the history of Iran is very much linked to whatever is happening right now. Okay, again, international relations, politics of developed countries on India's interest. Okay, so this is how you link to syllabus. So moving on, I am seeing only the sports pages. It is not linked to any other topic. No, there is no relevant article. So thank you. Please subscribe to our channel for more videos like this.